You are about to hear something that will change the way you see everything around you. But before you continue, understand this. Once you know what will be revealed here, there is no way to unknow. It is like crossing an invisible line. On the other side, nothing is ever the same again. If this video appeared to you now, it is no coincidence. It is a silent call, which only echoes when you are ready. But be careful. This message is not light. It will touch parts of you that were dormant. It will stir memories, feelings, desires that you may have buried. And above all, it will force you to see yourself with a clarity that may be uncomfortable. Only continue if you are truly ready to remember everything your soul already knew. You already knew, but you had forgotten. There are things we don't learn, we remember. And what is about to be revealed here will not be new to your soul. It will be a reunion. Since you were little, you have felt it. A presence. A silence that carries messages. An intuition that warns you before something happens. But throughout your life, you were taught not to believe in it. They said it was just your imagination, that it was all in your head, and you believed it. You believed it because you wanted to fit in, because you wanted to belong, because being too sensitive in this harsh world has always been seen as weakness, so you adapted. But you never truly forgot. Inside you, there has always been a memory, a kind of silent knowledge that appears in moments of pause. When the world outside goes silent, and all that is left is you with yourself. In those moments, a part of you screams, a part that knows that life has something more, that knows that certain encounters are reunions, that certain places seem familiar, that certain pains are not just for the present. And even without understanding why, you feel it. You feel it in your body, you feel it in your skin, you feel it in your chest. But you always thought it was just sensitivity, when in fact it was perception. That memory that insists on coming back is your essence knocking on the door. It never left you. It just lay dormant, waiting for the right moment to awaken. And that moment is now. Not because everything is calm or because you have all the answers, but precisely because you are tired of pretending you don't feel. Tired of living half-heartedly. Tired of following scripts that weren't written by you. And when this tiredness sets in, it opens a gap. And in that gap, the truth enters. Not the truth of others, but yours. The one that scares you and frees you at the same time. You are not watching this video by chance. This is a reminder, an invisible beckoning that tells you remember who you are, and who you are goes far beyond what you have been told. You are more than your name, more than your fears, more than your scars. You are made of deep layers, of ancient light, of wisdom that time has not erased. And now, you are starting to remember. You are starting to hear what was kept silent for years. You are starting to feel what you only intuited before. And that changes everything, because from now on, you will never again be able to pretend you don't know. This memory that awakens is your turning point. It's like turning on a light in a room where you've always lived but never really seen. Little by little, you'll see everything more clearly. The lies you accepted, the pain that wasn't yours, the paths you took trying to please, when in fact you just wanted to be seen. And now you see yourself. And by seeing yourself, you free yourself. Not all at once, not easily, but in a real way. Because remembering who you are is not an escape from reality. It's the deepest return to the truth that has always called you, and that now you finally hear. Awakening begins with a discomfort. Have you ever felt like there was something inside you that was always there, but that no one could ever reach? As if there was a silent memory hidden inside your chest, waiting for the right moment to emerge. It's not an invention. It's not an exaggeration. It's real, and it's happening now. What this video is going to show you is not new. In fact, it's old. As old as your essence. You're not here to learn something new, you're here to remember what you already know. but that you've forgotten out of protection, out of fear, or because you've adapted too much to a world that insists on disconnecting you from yourself. This forgetting, deep down, was a mechanism, a way of surviving a life that required you to fit in, to accept the superficial as truth, to pretend not to hear that deep call that always appeared in the quietest moments. But now, something has changed. Because forgetting is no longer enough. Your soul is tired of waiting. And maybe that's why you felt this urge to keep watching. An urge that didn't come from your mind. It came from within. From a place that can't be explained, but that you recognize in the shiver, the lump in your throat, that sudden feeling that something big is happening right now. But awakening doesn't start with beauty. It starts with discomfort. It's not a magical moment of peace, it's a break, a rupture. You start to question everything. Your choices, your relationships, your beliefs, your pain. What once seemed normal now starts to bother you. What you tolerated no longer makes sense, and that's when the process begins. Not with relief, but with restlessness. Because only what deeply bothers you is capable of making you move. This is where most people give up. Because it's easier to go back to sleep, to pretend nothing happened, to pretend that this video didn't trigger anything, that this call isn't about you. But if you're here, still watching, still feeling, then something inside you has already made the decision. Even without words, even without understanding, you've already chosen to remember. You've chosen to move on. And as hard as it may seem, it's the only choice that will bring you closer to your truth. And now you need to be ready for what's coming. Because from here on out, there's no turning back. Reality will start to bend in different ways. The signs will become clearer. The right people will start to appear, and the wrong ones will start to disappear. You'll start to notice what's always been there, but only now do you have eyes to see it. And when that happens, you'll understand. Awakening isn't an event. It's a process, a journey that begins with a simple step. No longer ignoring what's calling you from within. Your reality is not as solid as it seems. You've been taught to trust only what you can see, touch, and measure. That's how you were taught to feel safe. But there's something no one has told you. What you call reality is just a small part of a much larger whole. What your eyes see is limited. What your senses capture is a fragment. And yet, you've always suspected this, haven't you? You've always had that strange feeling that something was happening behind the scenes in your life, as if there was a silent plot moving the pieces while you tried to figure out the game. And that feeling was right all along. The reality you live in responds to you more than you can imagine. It is not a fixed stage where everything happens independently of you. It is a mirror, a living reflection of your internal energy. Your thoughts, your emotions, your desires, everything vibrates. Everything emits signals. And the universe, as a sensitive and intelligent field, captures all of this and returns forms, encounters, situations. You are not a passive victim of events. You are co-creating at every moment, even when you think you are just reacting. Nothing is by chance. Nothing is isolated. Everything is connected, including you. Life takes on new color when you understand this. Because from then on, you stop feeling powerless in the face of what happens. You start to observe patterns, to notice repetitions, to understand that certain pains are messages, not punishments, that certain people appear to activate parts of you that were dormant. You start to pay attention to the details, the signs, the words that repeat themselves, the dreams that seem more than just daydreams. The world around you starts to talk to you. And it is in this silent dialogue that the greatest truths appear. But this new perception is scary, because along with the power to create comes the responsibility to look at yourself honestly. You begin to realize that you have fed narratives that hurt you, that you have stayed in places out of fear, that you have allowed less than you deserve because you believed that was all you could have. When you understand that external reality reflects internal reality, you can no longer blame the world. You have to take responsibility. And that hurts. But it also frees. Because if you created chaos, you can also create rebirth. And it starts with the courage to see yourself. Reality is malleable, and you are the starting point. You always have been. The right people, the opportunities, the paths, all of these begin to align when your inner vibration changes. But this change is not something that is forced. It happens when you begin to remember who you are, when you begin to clear the noises that have disconnected you from your own essence. And now that you are remembering, everything around you will begin to respond. Get ready, because the world will begin to show you what it has always wanted to give you, but that only now are you ready to receive. Nothing is random. Absolutely nothing. Have you ever stopped to think about how many seemingly meaningless things ended up changing the course of your life? An unexpected conversation, a delay that took you somewhere else, a loss that opened a new path. What seems like coincidence is often synchronicity, and once you start to see it that way, everything changes, because what you saw is chance and becomes a sign that there is an intelligence guiding your steps, not an intelligence outside of you, but something that is deeply connected to your own interior. Life does not happen against you, it happens for you. The difficult situations, the people who hurt you, the mistakes you made, none of it was in vain. Even pain has a purpose, even if you only understand it much later. Each stage of your story has shaped your perception, strengthened your instinct, trained your soul for something greater. It's not about justifying suffering. It's about understanding that even suffering can be transformed into fuel. Chaos also educates. Emptiness also reveals. And the encounters that broke you the most were often the ones that pushed you the closest to yourself. You start to realize this when you look back and see that somehow everything fits together, that even in the darkest times, there was an invisible thread pulling you towards something, that even what took you away from someone or somewhere brought you closer to your truth. And this makes you realize that you were never alone, that there was always a silent force guiding you, even when you thought you were lost. And now that force no longer needs to hide, because you are starting to listen. You are starting to trust. You are starting to feel what has always been there. Chance is just the name we give to that which we still cannot understand. But once you wake up, the veil falls, and everything starts to make sense. You realize that that friendship that ended actually set you free. That job that didn't work out actually pushed you onto the right path. That video that appeared out of nowhere was waiting for the exact moment when your soul would say yes. And that moment is now. Life doesn't miss the mark, and neither did you miss the mark in getting here. Nothing is random. Every step, every pain, every silence had a purpose. And the more you accept this, the lighter everything becomes. Because you stop resisting, and you start to flow. You start to trust the movements that life proposes to you. You start to see beyond the apparent. And in this new way of seeing, the past gains new meaning. The present becomes more conscious, and the future stops being a threat, because you understand that you are exactly where you need to be, and that the next step will be taken at the right time, not when you are ready on the outside, but when you are whole on the inside. The choice is yours. But after this, nothing will be the same before you are at an invisible crossroads right now. It may not seem like it, but right now there is a silent choice happening inside you. And no, it's not about whether to keep watching or not. It's deeper. It's about whether to keep living the same way or to allow everything to start changing. This choice doesn't happen with fanfare. It happens in the heart. It happens when you hear a truth that you can no longer ignore, when something inside you says, enough. And that enough is not a scream. It's a decision. A silent decision that you will no longer pretend that you don't feel, don't see, don't know. What comes after that is not comfortable, but it is liberating. Because when you choose to wake up, you can no longer go back to sleep. People start to look at you differently, your conversations change, your presence starts to bother those who are still anesthetized. You start to want silence instead of distraction, truth instead of appearance, feeling instead of pleasing. And this change may make you feel alone at first. but it is a beautiful, necessary solitude. The solitude of someone who is clearing the ground to plant a new life, more aligned with their own essence. This choice doesn't require strength. It requires surrender. Giving up what you thought you were, what they said you should be, what you held on to for fear of losing. When you let go, the universe moves. It takes away what no longer serves you, brings in what you didn't even know you needed, and starts to reorganize everything. But for that to happen, you need to allow it. You need to make space. And space sometimes only opens up with the pain of letting go, of abandoning what was comfortable but wasn't true. After that, you will never be the same. You will look at the past with different eyes. You will understand why you had to go through each thing. You will be grateful for things that you used to curse. You will realize that everything was shaping you, not punishing you. And that changes everything. It changes the way you see yourself, how you take care of yourself, how you present yourself in the world. You will start to live with more intention. You will start to choose with more presence. You will start to respect yourself, and as a result, to transform yourself. The decision is yours. It always has been. But now, it takes on more weight. Because now you know. You know there is a way back home, to yourself. And once that door opens, even if you try, you can't unsee it. You can't pretend you didn't feel it. And even if the world outside remains the same, the world inside, you will never be the same again. Because now you are awake, and those who awaken don't go back. The universe does not get addresses wrong. Everything you have experienced, including the things that hurt you deeply, has brought you here. You may have felt lost, rejected, forgotten, but you have never been off track. The pain has shaped you, the waiting has prepared you, the silence has taught you to hear something that no one else could hear. The call of your own soul. And that call has never stopped. It has only become quieter when the world has become too noisy, but it has never stopped searching for you. And now it has reached you. Through this message, this strange feeling that pulses inside you, it has found you. That's why certain videos appear at just the right time. That's why some words touch you deeply without you understanding exactly why. The universe acts silently but with precision. It doesn't send messages to those who aren't ready. It waits, it watches, and when it realizes that you're about to break your shell, that you're tired of surviving instead of living, it acts. It moves pieces, brings encounters closer, guides you without you realizing it, and one day, out of nowhere, everything makes sense. That moment could be now. You are not hearing this by mistake. There is a part of you that asked for this message. Maybe not consciously, maybe not with words, but it asked. It asked as you lay down crying, as you looked up at the sky in silence, as you said, "I can't take it anymore," while still trying to smile on the outside. The universe listened, and it answered. The answer didn't come like magic. It came as a call, an invitation, a reminder. And now it's before you. What you do with it is your choice. But denying that something inside you has moved, maybe that's no longer possible. Even when you thought you were off the path, you were still being guided. Because the universe doesn't make mistakes, it doesn't waste pain, it doesn't throw away suffering. It transforms. It rebuilds. It represents your life in ways you never imagined. But for that, it needs you to say yes. It needs you to allow it. It needs you to make room within yourself for the new. And the new isn't something that comes from outside. The new is born when you stop fighting against who you are and finally decide to truly listen to yourself. Now you know, and once you know, there is no going back to who you were. Something has already changed. The address has been found, the message has been delivered, and your soul is ready. You can even try to run away, but you will feel every day that you can no longer live with your eyes closed, because now they are open. And what comes from now on is the path to truth, to reunion, to liberation. What you are looking for is also looking for you, that constant feeling of emptiness, of being in search of something that you don't even know exactly what it is. It's not crazy. It's a sign that something inside you is moving, trying to find the part of the world that belongs to you. You feel like you're searching for a purpose, a true love, a direction, a deeper connection with something bigger. And the most beautiful and scary thing about all of this is that what you're looking for is also looking for you. There's a force, a frequency, an answer that's trying to reach you. But to find it, you need to stop running and start feeling. When you vibrate at the frequency of deep desire, the one that comes from the soul, not from need, the universe begins to conspire. But this conspiracy is subtle. It hides in unlikely encounters, in messages that arrive without explanation, in sensations that give you goosebumps for no reason. Everything that is real comes in the form of intuition. There is no noise, there is no shouting, there is recognition. And if you are here, reading this with your heart racing, perhaps it has already been found. Perhaps what you were searching for so much is before you now. Not in the form of a ready-made answer, but as a mirror that shows you how much closer you are than you imagine. The biggest mistake is to think that it's about chasing after it. The truth is that it's about aligning yourself. When you stop forcing, stop begging for attention, stop putting yourself down, something starts to move. Because what is yours, in essence, doesn't require effort to remain. What is yours recognizes your energy, your soul, your light. And that's exactly why so much went away when you started to remember who you are. Because what was based on your dormant version doesn't survive your awakened version. What truly belongs to you only arrives when you decide to belong to it. This quest that moves you is valid. It is beautiful, but it needs to be directed inward. It is not the world outside that will give you meaning. It is you, when you find yourself, who will begin to see meaning in everything. Paths open up when you stop waiting for the outside to save you. You did not come here to be rescued, you came to recognize yourself. And in this recognition, everything that is yours by destiny begins to approach. Without effort, without struggle, only truth. So if you still feel like you're searching for something, trust. Because that something is closer than ever. It could be a new phase, a new connection, an answer, a cure. It could be this very moment. But for the encounter to happen, you need to stop. Breathe. Be silent. Because it's only in silence that the deepest truths reveal themselves. And it's only when you stop searching desperately that they finally begin to be found. There are portals that only open in silence. The world has taught you to run, to produce, to be busy all the time as if silence were dangerous. But the truth is that the greatest revelations in your life will not come from noise. They will come from pause, because there are portals inside you that only open when everything outside is silent. When the body slows down, when the mind is silent, when the heart is finally able to speak. And in that sacred space between one thought and another, there is a portal that connects you with your essence, with your truth, with a wisdom that no external voice can ever replace. You are afraid of silence because it makes noise. Noise from truths that you have pushed under the rug. Noise from feelings that you did not want to feel. Noise from a version of yourself that has always existed but that you have stifled in order to be accepted, to be loved, to not be rejected. But silence does not hurt you. It reveals. It shows what is asking for healing. It shows what needs to be released. And yes, sometimes it hurts. But this pain is the pain of transformation. The pain of someone who is being pulled out of the comfortable lie and pushed into the truth that liberates. The portals of silence are not grand to the eye. They have no color, no sound, no applause. But within them, there is a force that reorganizes everything, a force that realigns the body, mind, and spirit. And when you enter these states, even for a moment, you feel it. Time slows down, answers appear, anxiety ceases, the soul whispers, and most importantly, you remember that you need nothing but yourself to begin again. It is in silence that you realize that you are being guided, that you are not lost, that there has always been a light guiding you even when your eyes were closed. And that light is yours. It always has been. It just got covered by excess, by haste, by noise. When you learn to cultivate silence, the chaos outside no longer matters. You learn to access peace from within, and that peace is your power. What you are experiencing now can be that portal, that pause, that rare moment in which everything makes sense, even if only for a few seconds. And from that moment on, you change. Because true silence is not empty. It is full. It is full of you. And when you allow yourself to immerse yourself in it, you come back different. You come back whole. You come back remembering that the world does not need to be shouted at to be transformed. You just need to listen to what is already being said, inside you, in silence. You are not alone. You never were, even in the moments when you swore no one understood what you were feeling. You were never alone. You may have felt invisible, ignored, disconnected, but there were subtle presences around you. There were signs. There were intuitions that appeared out of nowhere. There were thoughts that calmed you when everything seemed to be falling apart. You weren't going crazy, you were being cared for even without realizing it. There is something, an intelligence, an energy, a loving consciousness that silently accompanies your steps, respecting your time, your pain, your process. And this presence now reveals itself more clearly. You felt it when you looked up at the sky and felt a lump in your throat without knowing why. When you listened to a song and cried for no apparent reason. When you felt a chill in the middle of a random conversation. These moments weren't random. They were subtle hints from something bigger saying, "I'm here." And now you're starting to recognize it, not as a delusion or an escape from reality, but as a reunion with what has always been with you. You didn't come into this life helpless. You didn't come to fight alone. There's something, and maybe you still feel it now, that has never stopped protecting you. On the days when everything seemed lost, when you thought you couldn't handle it, when you silently begged for relief, that presence responded, sometimes in the form of someone who appeared out of nowhere, other times in the form of courage you didn't know you had, but it was always there. And now more than ever, you are ready to feel that connection more deeply. You are ready to live no longer as someone loose in the world, but as someone who is part of something sacred, invisible, but extremely real. This consciousness that accompanies you does not interfere by force. It waits for you to allow it. And the fact that you have come this far is a sign that you are allowing it. You are saying yes to this connection that was dormant. You are opening your heart to be guided, not by rules, dogmas, or obligations, but by a silent wisdom that only those who awaken can hear. That is why now you feel a different strength inside, because you are reconnecting. And those who reconnect never feel alone again. You belong. You belong to life, to the universe, to this invisible web of light that connects everything and everyone. You are part of a greater plan even when you don't understand it. And with each step you take toward your truth, that plan reveals itself. So when you feel afraid, close your eyes and remember you have never walked alone. Every tear has been witnessed, every thought has been heard. And now more than ever, you are being accompanied by forces that love you more than you can imagine. When you change inside, everything changes outside. The change you've been waiting for in your life doesn't start outside. It doesn't come from a new relationship, a new city, or a magical opportunity that appears out of nowhere. It starts inside. And as simple as that may seem, it's one of the hardest truths to accept. Because it's easier to blame the world than to face what's messed up inside you. It's easier to try to fix others than to dive into your own chaos. But now you can't hide from yourself anymore. Something inside you has started to move, and that changes everything. Have you ever noticed how, when you are at peace, things flow better? How? When you are aligned with your truth, different people approach you, opportunities arise, time seems to cooperate. This is not magic. It is vibration. It is resonance. What is inside you, is like an invisible field that affects everything around it. And when this field is charged with clarity, self-love, presence, the world responds, life responds, because everything around you is a reflection. And real change only happens when it comes from the inside out. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect to deserve good things. It means that the closer you get to your essence, the more the universe understands how to serve you. The more you heal your wounds, the more space you open for the new to enter. But it takes courage to take this plunge. Courage to take off your masks, to accept your shadows, to leave behind everything you used as a shield. Because when you change internally, inevitably, the external begins to reorganize itself. Some people move away. Some doors close, but others, much more aligned, open. This is the phase where you begin to realize that you no longer need to chase after it. You only need to sustain who you are becoming. When you align, you attract it. And what comes to you in this state is pure, true, and deserved. You don't need to beg for affection, prove your worth, or force connections. You simply become a magnet for that which already vibrates at the same frequency as your new self. And that changes everything. It changes your posture, your speech, your choices. You stop living in reaction and start living in creation. The world changes when you change, not because the world has become easier, but because your perception has changed. You start to see opportunities where you used to see problems. You start to prioritize yourself where you used to ignore yourself. You start to choose consciously where you used to just accept. And it all starts with one step, looking inside and saying, I'm ready. Ready to be who you came to be. Ready to let go of the old. Ready to allow life to reflect your new inner state. Because when you change on the inside, everything changes on the outside. Awakening is a one-way path. And that's the best part. Awakening is not a sudden and spectacular event as many imagine. It is subtle. It begins with small discomforts, silent restlessness, a feeling that something no longer fits, neither outside nor inside. You begin to question yourself, to see patterns, to feel uncomfortable with what you previously accepted passively. And suddenly what seemed normal becomes unbearable. The masks begin to fall one by one. And as frightening as this may be, it is also the beginning of your freedom. Because no one fits the mold again after tasting the truth. Awakening takes you out of autopilot mode. It stops you from living to please, to fit in, to survive. You start living to feel, to exist fully. And this can make you distance yourself from certain people, certain environments, and old dreams that no longer represent you. It is a symbolic death, but also a rebirth. You do not lose who you were. You simply get closer to who you always were, behind the layers imposed by life, society, and fear. And finding this real you again is the greatest gift you can receive. But this process comes at a price. Because once you wake up, you can no longer pretend you don't see. You can no longer force yourself into places that suffocate you, into relationships that diminish you, into routines that make you sick. You feel everything more strongly. You perceive intentions. You read between the lines. And this sensitivity is not a weakness. It is your power. Sensitivity is the portal that connects you to what is true. And as much as you sometimes wish you could go back to not feeling so much, the truth is that this new perception is a gift. You begin to choose more consciously. You begin to respect your limits. You begin to create a life that doesn't tire you but expands you. Old pains no longer paralyze you. They now teach you. Because awakening doesn't make you immune to suffering, but it gives you tools to go through it with wisdom. You become lighter, not because life becomes easy, but because your soul becomes free. Free to be, to feel, to create. And that changes everything. There is no turning back from awakening, and that is wonderful. Because even though the path may be lonely at times, it is real. And when you live in truth, your soul rests. Your mind becomes still. Your heart becomes aligned. You no longer seek the meaning of life as something outside of yourself. You realize that the meaning is to live with presence, with truth, with love. You become your own home. and no one can take that away from you. Your dreams are coded messages. Have you ever noticed how certain dreams insist on coming back? How some images, sensations, and symbols seem to carry something more than just fantasy? Your dreams are not random. They are codes, messages, parts of you trying to communicate through the language of the unconscious. And when you start paying attention to them, you also start to decipher precious messages about your path, your fears, your desires, and even your future. The world of dreams is not an escape. It is a mirror, and every time you dream, your soul is trying to show you something that, awake, you still don't want or can't see. Dreaming is a way of processing, of cleansing, of healing. Sometimes what you repress during the day comes out at night, because the unconscious doesn't lie. It exposes it. It translates into symbols what you don't yet have the courage to face directly. Other times the dream is a premonition, a subtle warning of something that is to come, or even a reunion with people you once knew in another time, in another life. None of this is crazy. It is the language of the soul. And your soul has been trying to reach you for ages, even while you sleep. Some dreams leave such a deep impression on you that you wake up with your heart racing, tears in your eyes, and an inexplicable sense of longing or fear. Don't ignore them. These dreams hold keys. They are like reminders of something your soul has never forgotten, even if your mind rationalizes it. Start writing them down, observing them, feeling them. Pay attention to the patterns, the symbols, the emotions. What repeats itself? What provokes you? What do you feel when you wake up? These are clues, fragments of a puzzle that only you can put together. Your dreams are maps. They point the way, bring healing, and reconnect you with lost parts of yourself. And the more you open yourself to listening to them, the more you begin to receive. You will see that certain dreams bring answers, while others bring confirmation that sometimes what seemed meaningless today becomes clear weeks later. Because dreams do not follow the logic of time, they follow the logic of the soul, and the soul is timeless, profound, and symbolic. When you learn to listen to it, you awaken an ancient wisdom that has always been dormant within you. The next time you dream something strange, beautiful, or unsettling, don't ignore it. Feel it. Write it down. Honor it. Because while you sleep, parts of you are working. They are healing you. They are guiding you. Your dreams are portals. They are gifts. They are reminders that you are so much more than you think you are. You are soul, and the soul never sleeps. Life begins when you stop running away from yourself. You spent so much time trying to be what people expected, trying to live up to expectations, trying to please, that at some point you lost touch with who you really are. You learned to adapt so as not to be rejected, to hide parts of yourself so as not to seem too weak, too intense, too different. And so, little by little, you started running away from yourself, running away from your truth, your desires, your feelings. But the truth has a curious way of finding us, even when we avoid it. And there comes a time when you can no longer pretend. You need to face yourself. You need to stop running away. Running away from yourself is the greatest form of exhaustion there is. It means living at war with your own essence. It means waking up every day feeling like something is missing. It means smiling on the outside and screaming on the inside. But there comes a time when this becomes sickening. The body speaks, the soul cries, life stops. Because you didn't come to adapt to what diminishes you. You came to expand, to recognize yourself, to live truthfully, and life begins, for real, the moment you stop running away. The moment you say, I'm tired of pretending that everything is okay when it's not. At that moment, something changes. You begin to rediscover yourself in the details, in the way you feel, in your sensitivity, in what moves you without explanation. And you begin to realize that everything you thought was a weakness was your greatest strength, that everything you tried to hide was precisely what made you unique. Your intensity, your dedication, your profound way of experiencing the world. None of this was a defect. It was essence. And when you stop running away, you stop judging yourself. And when you stop judging yourself, you start to embrace yourself. Living authentically is scary at first, because you lose a lot. You lose masks, you lose shallow bonds, you lose false control. But what you gain is infinitely greater. You gain peace, you gain presence, you gain lightness, you gain yourself back. And that is the greatest achievement of all. Because those who belong to themselves no longer accept anything. Those who listen to themselves do not sell themselves for crumbs. Those who love themselves free themselves. And the freedom to be who you are, without fear, without shame, without ties, is the greatest miracle you can experience. So, if you felt this calling, if something inside you started to vibrate differently, know this: you are ready. Ready to stop running away. Ready to choose yourself. Ready to finally live a life that represents you. And when that happens, life begins. It really begins. And what comes next? It's not perfect, but it's yours. Entirely yours. You've made it this far, and that says a lot. It doesn't matter if it's out of curiosity by chance, or because of something you still can't explain. The fact is that you heard it, you felt it, and now you know. There's something bigger guiding you. There's a reason behind everything you've experienced. There's a purpose that doesn't disappear even on the hardest days. And more than that, there's a new version of you being born right now. Silently, powerfully. From today on, you no longer walk in the dark. Because now you carry a light, a truth, that can no longer be forgotten. And no matter how noisy, confusing, and fast-paced the world outside continues to be, you have discovered a place of silence within yourself. And in that silence, there is an answer. There is strength. There is direction. If this message touched you in any way, write here in the comments, "I'm ready." Let's see how many awakened souls are hearing this same call. Subscribe to the channel. Here you will always be reminded of who you are, and when the universe wants to talk to you again, it will find a way. You just need to be aware, because the signs never stop.